Hello again, my friends. Welcome to my Fall Guys level tier list. We are obviously thinking about Big Yeetus update because that has changed a lot of values. I'm going to be listing them from S tier, which I think means they're perfect, don't need changing whatsoever, and I love them. F tier means they need a major overhaul, and I just don't like them at all. We are going to also work from left to right, so something which is here on A tier is, in my opinion, better than something which is over here in A tier. And this tier list is very, I'm trying to be objective, and back up my statements and my reasons, but there are some levels here which you will disagree with, and they're coloured by my own opinions. If you do disagree with anything, let me know and we can have a discussion. But I'll try and talk through my feelings about this. So let's get started. The first level, the best level in the entirety of Fall Guys, goes in S tier, is Hexagon. Hexagon is just well made. Everything about it is perfect. You've got like 80% skill, 20% luck, which is fine. The mechanics of the tiles works perfectly. There's a lot of strategy on slow hopping, speed strats to cut people off, watching where you're falling, just overall really good. And I really like the fact that if you make a mistake, you don't outright lose like you would on Jump Showdown. You actually get a bit of forgiveness. You just go down a couple of layers and then you can keep pulling it back. And the thing is about this level, you can pull it back. If you go down really early, you can pull it back. And so I just think it's a really well-made level. I'd love to see more hexagon tile-based levels or hexagon tiles in other levels as well. Next up, Slime Climb. Slime Climb is, again, a really well-made level. The Big Yeetus update with a variance of certain elements has improved the level greatly. It's just really fun to go through it. It's really going to be speedy in it as well. Obstacles still give me trouble, even though I feel like I've been playing for like 300 hours. Some obstacles can really still give you a lot of trouble, and it's just a well-made, like sometimes you might want to go for speed, sometimes you might want to go for eliminations. It just gives you all the options, and it's just one of the best made levels in Fall Guys, in my opinion. I'd love to see more Slime Climb-esque levels, but I got the feeling they won't be doing that. So that is it for S tier. Moving on to A tier, this is where levels are really good, and I really like them. Maybe could use a little bit more tweaking. We'll see. The first one I'm going to say is Hoopsie Daisy. Now, this is probably a bit of controversial. Hoopsie Daisy, in my opinion, is one of the best team games in Fall Guys. Mainly because there's 3 teams and you can't be 2v1'd. Not really, anyway. And it always feels like you're doing something. You're always looking for more hoops. And there is some strategy involved, like going to places where there hasn't been a hoop for a while, thinking a hoop will drop. Or go into places where your teammates aren't, or maybe you could have all your teammates in one half of the map dominating that area, for example. The main negatives might be the latency. When you jump for a hoop and someone jumps in after you, but they get it, because they're on their screen, they're in front of you, kind of hurts. And also the golden hoops. They're good, but they're bad as well, you know. They do make it so it feels hopeless. You can't possibly win at certain points. But maybe the golden hoops are the only thing stopping it from being a jinx, where everyone's just running around getting hoops, and it's a coin flip on how good that's going to be. So the golden hoops might need to be there, but overall, I love it. I love seeing Hoopsie Daisy, and I love playing it as well. Next up in A tier is Dizzy Heights. Dizzy Heights is just a clean race level. A lot of really good strategies, you know, going under the balls, making sure you've got the best kind of jumps, and avoiding... There's a nice amount of luck with the balls at the end, or the fruits now. This level has seen a lot of variance as well with the update, and it has a Big Yeetus. I think the Big Yeetus in Dizzy Heights is the best Big Yeetus in the whole game. It gives you a lot of push, and it feels real good too. So overall, just an amazing level, and there's enough variance that actually makes a big difference. Like sometimes those second rotating bouts are just not there, and that makes a big difference. So I love that level as well. So now we're on to B tier. And my first level in B tier is Tiptoe. So I do think Tiptoe is a good level. I think it's well designed with the fake tiles and the routes. I think the negatives would be that sometimes the physics can really annoy you when you get pushed off for no reason. Sometimes your jumps can get eaten sometimes. And also, you know, if you get pushed off as well. So sometimes it feels bad playing it. But overall, I'm pretty excited when I get it. And it feels quite smart if you know the rules and you look out for wobbling tiles and people are taking the correct routes and stuff like that. You can try and figure out which routes are correct, and it makes you feel quite smart. And hopefully you can play a clean game. Sometimes that doesn't happen though, which is why it's in B tier. Next up, Full Mountain. This has rocketed from like A tier down to D tier up to B tier. It's moved around a lot. The big Yeetus in this level is trash mostly, and I like the variance in the level with the hammers and stuff, but I don't like the variance on how wacky the balls can be. They're sometimes just completely strange. One will just like fling across the map and hit you. But when I get the level, I'm always excited for the possibility. It's only when I get about halfway through and one thing happens that it wrecks me. So I'm excited to play it, but then when I start playing it, I get unexcited if things go badly. And they really need to fix the starting line, make everyone on the same line to make it fair. And that's why it's in B tier. I think if you could fix the starting line, it would move up to high B tier. If you could fix like so the balls don't go so crazy, like they're just getting whacked by the hammers and spinning around all over the place, then it might move up to A tier in my opinion. Next up is Rock and Roll. Now Rock and Roll I think is a decent game. Obviously it's just teammates that let you down on this one. The variance system seems a little unfair. Sometimes the hammers are in your favor and sometimes they're not. I do think blue team inherently has a disadvantage as well, which is why it's not higher. But I think it's rare enough. I think it's a rare game, and that means that I kind of like it a little bit more than I dislike it. If it was common, if it came up every time like Dizzy Heights did, it'd probably go down a bit, because it can be a frustrating game indeed, but it's mostly due to your other players that it becomes frustrating, in my opinion. This is going to be a controversial one. Fruit Shoot. I like Fruit Shoot. I've always liked it. I thought it was great. It was in like A tier for me. But people have made complaints, and I can agree with the complaints. The complaints are, it's all about the first jump, and then you just go to the sides and walk forwards. That's unfortunate. I agree with those. That's why I bumped it down to B tier. I would like to see maybe a conveyor belt in the middle, so you can go to the middle and get an extra speed boost. But there's a lot of fruit going down there. That might just be that everyone goes to the middle and then goes out and goes in, you know. I would also like to see those purple pyramids on the sides disappear, so you can't use them as cover. And so everyone is basically more dodging the fruits like they're supposed to. That's what I would like to see. Removal of the pyramids, maybe a conveyor belt in the middle, but make it so everyone's got to dodge the fruits a bit better. If you can fix the starting thing so there's no barriers, so it's really hard to get knocked over, that'd be kind of nice as well. Okay, so now we're on to C tier, and I'm putting a lot of the early game races into C tier because they're so common, and I think that's just a thing that happens when you play a game so often. It becomes repetitive and you see all the variations, and so a lot of these early race levels are losing points just because they're so common. You know, just like Rock and Roll earns some points because it's uncommon. First one is Whirlygig. I like Whirlygig. I think it's probably the best race level after Dizzy Heights, because you can get a lot of flinging strats. There's a nice strats to go under the windmill in the middle. You can try going out of bounds. You can try griefing by grabbing people as they're jumping. So it's a really, really fun level. I don't think there's anything you can do with that. When the hammers spawn after the first windmills, they're not really obstacles, so maybe you could improve them. Put some slime on the floor or something. But overall, it's a good race level. It's just common, and I do think it's okay. Not really anything I would change on that one, but it's not amazing because you play it so super often. Next up is Seesaw. Seesaw, a lot of people hate Seesaw, but it is a game that makes you pay attention. You have to play smart, unless you're on the front row where it's super easy. You know, there's a couple of strategies here. You can go on the barriers for get extra jumps. You can try the respawn strategy to spawn further forward. And you've always got to pay attention. So I like this one. Overall, maybe I'd make the big Yeetus that appears in this level more better, because it's not very good Yeetus at all. But overall, it's a decent level. I think it's a long level is the issue with a lot of people. Like if you get through early, you've got to wait a long time. But the next level in C tier for me is Block Party. It's a level which you have to pay attention, but it's generally quite easy. I call it it's an easy level until it's not. And that basically means if someone grabs you, you might lose. If you get like bulldozed into a corner, then you might lose. But other than that, it's generally quite easy. But a lot of people are, you know, you have to pay attention. There are strategies to try and avoid being grabbed and try and avoid being bulldozed. There is the strategy of going out of bounds, which is a bit of an exploit, but it's fun in some ways. You can try and make it fun, which I kind of like. I would like to see a bit of variance on maybe the floor, maybe put a little bit of conveyor belt on the floor, or put a little bit of a slime on the floor to make things harder and easier in some ways. So another controversial one here is fall ball. I kind of like fall ball. Now, 10v10, not a massive fan of it, but when you go down to like 5v5 or something around there, I feel like you can actually predict the ball's pattern, and when you hit it, you can start to make strategies and stuff like that. So I like fall ball. I think it's reasonable. There's not a whole lot I would change. A lot of the variance that is added to fall ball is not great. The hammers are very unfair. Sometimes they can be bad for you, and sometimes they can be good for you, and it's not mirrored. I like the conveyor belt in the middle. I think it stops people doing the headbutt strategy, which is a good strategy. Overall, though, I like the vanilla one. But fall ball, in my opinion, is pretty nice. They've definitely reduced the amount of times that you see it. And to be honest, now they've made it so you can't have 2 team games back to back, and they've made it so teams are always even. I do like it a lot more. And the next one is Egg Scramble, another one that people will probably put a little bit lower. Egg Scramble for me it's fun. I really like the egg hoard at the beginning. Again, I don't really like 10v10v10 or something like that. I much prefer 4v4v4. The less people, the better in my opinion, because it means that you can actually grab eggs properly, rather than the egg hoard at the beginning when you got loads of players. It's just like a big cluster and you can't really do anything. But with less players, I think Egg Scramble is actually pretty fun. Defense is a nice option. You've got the golden egg hunting that you can do. There's a lot of options. Obviously, people don't like the idea that you can be targeted, and that is a negative for sure. But it's all about doing good on the first initial egg hoard, I think, and to avoid being targeted, heavily. And make sure you've got some defense. So next up, we've got Hit Parade. The reason I put it after all of these is because it doesn't change all that much. It's always kind of the same. It's so repetitive and it doesn't really do much for me. So it goes there. And then the same thing for Gate Crash. Like, that is super repetitive. Not a whole lot of variance on that apart from the order. So it goes down here. DoorDash is also here. DoorDash is my final C tier level. The reason being is because it's a well-made level. I really like the 3 doors that you can tell which are real at the end. Hope they don't change that. I don't want all doors to be like that, but the last 3 I really like. However, this level annoys me more than any of the other race levels because you lose control of your character so much. Like, if you hit a wrong door, you fall over for ages. You try and jump through a door, you fall over for ages. You jump on a door frame that's knocked over, you fall over for ages. So you just lose control so often in DoorDash that it becomes a little frustrating. And there's not that much variance in it either. The variances that you do get don't really make a big difference either. So we're on to D tier now. So these are ones which are unfun or need changing in my opinion. The first is Rollout. Rollout is at the top of D tier because you can make it fun. If you start trying to grab a lot of people are getting really good at killing people on this now. That is quite fun to go around trying to kill people. That's the best fun you can have on Rollout. But other than that, it's about 1.5 minutes of tedium, just walking around. And other than that, there's not much else to it, is there? So I don't know what you could do to improve it. Maybe make certain platforms that rotate have interesting floor elements like conveyor belts or slime or something that would make you not want to go onto that bit. So you have to think a little bit more. Next up, Jump Showdown. This was crazy. I planned to do a tier list before Big Yeetus, and Jump Showdown was here previously, which is crazy, but now it's all the way down here. The reason being is grabbing. I really despise grabbing in Jump Showdown because it just means that you don't get to do the jumping part. I do feel like the jumping part, if you're isolated on a tile, the jumping part can be a little boring. You jump, and you're doing this for 4 minutes as it gets faster. But the grabbing really ruined it for me. It's gone down loads because people grab, and there's nothing you can really do about it. If someone wants to grab you, you're going to get grabbed. Even if you pre-jump, so you're jumping in the air, they can grab you and pull you back down. And then you've got the latency issue where they grab you and they jump over the barrier, even though they're not really over the barrier. It's like, oof. So it goes down. If they disable grabbing, it will shoot back up. But I am aware that people don't like 4 or 5 minute long levels. Maybe they could make it so the platforms fall and rise and fall and rise and fall and rise. So you're going around the path as you're jumping over the barrier. That would mean that it's harder and you've got two things to keep track of if they eliminate grappers, which I think they should do that in my opinion, but that's up to you, man. It's up to you. Okay, I think I'm going to put Royal Fumble in D tier as well. It probably was in F tier, but I think it's super rare now, right? They must have lowered the qualifications, so it's a nice breath of fresh air to not get Jump Showdown. You know what I mean? It's an intense game. Obviously, you can get your tail stolen, but with 4 or 5 players, I think Royal Fumble is a lot more fun. You're less likely to get massive clusters of people all grabbing each other. And I think Royal Fumble is the best when you're on 4 players and someone's running around. You have to catch them properly and then run off yourself. When it all becomes a cluster, it's not very fun. But I'll leave it there, I think. So for my F tier, we've got 6 games left. And yeah, I feel bad about putting someone in F tier. It doesn't mean they need a massive overhaul, but my first one is Tail Tag Solo. It's just a bit boring, isn't it, really? It really only matters for the last, 30 seconds. And the strategy is always the same. It's pretty tough as well, and it can feel bad to get your tail stolen at the end. I'm not sure how you would improve that one, to be honest. People have said maybe how long you keep a tail. So you're always trying to keep hold of a tail. Maybe that would work in solo tail tag. It definitely wouldn't work in Royal Fumble, because then it just switches the first 30 seconds of not doing anything to the last 30 seconds of not doing anything because you can't possibly win. But in solo tail tag, stealing a tail might get you above someone else that doesn't have a tail. So solo tail tag, that might be an interesting idea. Jump Club. It's just a bit boring, isn't it, really? It's another one of those block pie, easy until it's not things. If you get grabbed, you'll probably lose. Other than that, it's real easy. Perfect Match, again, another boring level. They need to add something to spice it up, I think. Maybe miss out the first round, so you've got 3 rounds of harder stuff, so it gets more people out. Or maybe have a block party block go over the map, so you've got to jump over that. Or maybe have fruit rolling around, so you've got to pay attention to the cubes, and then fruit's going down, and then make sure the fruit's away when you've got to jump on a certain block, just to make it a little bit harder, in my opinion. Next up, it's Team Tail Tag. Just a game which is not really that important. You know, you can have a tail for the whole match and still lose. You can not have a tail for the whole match and still win. I basically spend most of my time just messing around, and we still manage to get through. I still keep a tail, but it's just a level that doesn't feel like it matters. I do like it though. I mean, it's better to get than like Tail Tag or Jump Club or Perfect Match, just because it seems so easy. But just not a whole lot there, really. You know, the team aspect I feel just doesn't work with this kind of setting, because it doesn't mean anything most of the time. So my subaltimate level is Jinxed. I feel bad about putting Jinxed this far back, because it is a really nice level. I think with a small tweak, you could bump it up to like C or B tier. It just feels like a coin flip a lot of the time. I've taken to actually getting caught on purpose, because I'm good at catching other people, rather than running away. I would like to see something along the lines of, if you get caught, you've got 15 seconds to catch someone, and then your bean pops out of existence. And that way, when you've got Jinx, it doesn't snowball, so the entire team is against one person from your team, you know? If they don't catch someone in 15 seconds, they pop out of existence, and whoever has the most people when there's no Jinx wins. Or, you know, if the whole team is gone, then the other team wins. But it rewards good evasion, you know? And I think that's something Jinx doesn't do here, because it'll be in such insurmountable odds towards the end that good evasion won't mean much. So I'd like to see them maybe just tweak how long a Jinx person is jinxed, so it encourages evasion tactics a bit better. And finally, my final game is Hoarders. Hoarders, I think, is just a terrible game. It fills the same role as Egg Scramble, but just using balls. And it uses fall ball balls. Now, I said in fall ball that I don't like 10v10 because you can't control the balls very well. And that's what Hoarders is. You got dodgy ball mechanics. So you hit a ball, it doesn't go where you want it to, because there's loads of other people hitting it as well. And you got 30 players or something, where that just exacerbates the fact that you can't do good, clean strategy with the balls because there's like 30 other players trying to hit balls and stuff. And you can get the 2v1 mentality on it as well. Just like Scramble, but I feel like it just hurts in Hoarders as well. And it feels like the whole thing is just RNG. You can have all the balls, then lose them, or you can have no balls and get them all, or you can have no balls and people just defend against your base and nothing goes into your base. It just feels horrible to me. I'm not sure what you could do. Maybe something along the lines of if you get a ball, it disappears and you score a point. That's kind of like a 3-man full ball. I don't know what you could do with that one. Take it out. But I honestly don't think Hoarders needs to be in because Scramble fills that same role. But that is my tier list. All right. There's some questionable ones in there, and I could be convinced in some things. Like Team Tail Tag could maybe go a bit further up because I don't mind it. It's just not really that important. Jump Showdown could go up a couple because I do kind of like it, but the grabs make me go down. Jump Showdown is very much an opinion-based one, and so is Full Mountain. Let me know what you think about my tier list. I tried to explain why I like them and why I don't like them. Hopefully it wasn't 20 minutes of boring for you. But thank you for watching, everybody. Hopefully we can get some updates on some of the levels, and Season 2 will give us some really nice levels that are S and A tier, but we'll have to wait and see. So take care of yourself. I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.